Joining us now to discuss BTC price and more is David Stryzewski, CEO of financial advisor Sound Planning Group. Hello there, David. Thanks for coming on. So why are we seeing Bitcoin mint today? We're seeing some thin volumes. Is it just a couple of big buys? What's your assessment?
Well, thank you so much for having me on the program here, Christine. Hey, whenever you see an asset class as popular and as hyped up as Bitcoin with the potential for disruption, which certainly any of these crypto conversations mean disruption for fiat currency, and I think all of your viewers understand what I just said. Hey, when we see big sell-offs like this, for those that are bullish in this space, that's a buying opportunity. And so, to quote Warren Buffett about, talking about stocks, it's like, hey, if you can't hang on for 10 years, then you may not want to actually get invested right now. I think that, a lot of what we see, in my industry as a registered investment advisor, we're really late to the party because there's not a lot of regulation around it. And, even like what you were just sharing here in the segment leading up to this, there's the challenges of the North Koreas and, losing your crypto assets if you don't have them safe or somehow you lost it or whatever else. But I think that we're in a very unique time frame, and I think it looks pretty positive for this entire sector. Although I think that there's some individual conversations as far as some areas that there might be more positives than negatives, and what the future of this might look like.
So you're a financial advisor. I'm curious, what are you advising your clients and how to handle this volatility? Are you telling them to buy?
Great question. So because it's an unregulated security, that's not something that we can spend a lot of time speaking about as far as personal discretionary assets go. But what I can tell you in my own personal life is, and what I'm looking at is, actually, I'll say it this way. The best advice I ever heard was, don't put more money into crypto than you can afford to lose. The second best advice that I heard was, you got to put something in crypto, because if this becomes something significant, like it's very, very likely to become, then, it might double your entire portfolio, even with like a 1% investment, when we see valuations and changes like this. So I personally believe that people should be paying attention to this, especially if they've got a little bit more aggressive nature to them, or they're younger. So of course, that's why we're seeing a lot younger adoption here to Bitcoin and these crypto assets. But it's a little bit tricky amongst the boomers. I'll just be honest. There's not a real understanding for how the system works, even though they've probably seen a Netflix special on it at this point, and we're hearing about great shows like yourself, and the index is being referenced even on a daily basis right now.
Well, I guess the trick is to make it easy enough so that it is easy for the boomers to start investing. But there are a number of factors that I see in your notes that you believe are moving the markets. What are some of them?
Well, supply and demand is a big one, right? So I think that we're seeing a lot more adoption here today. And, when we start seeing Bitcoin, as an example, show up in news segments, it's watched, it's gaining more of a common relationship. In fact, it may be that in the future, there's a whole bunch of people that don't really understand how blockchain works or how it works, but they just like the fact that it's secure, it's what we do, and we might get there. Why are we seeing some of the price go down? Well, there's a number of economic factors that are coming together. I mean, really, the entire economy right now is at this convergence place, because there's really 5 things that move the economy. We have inflation, we've got interest rates, we've got corporate earnings, what the Federal Reserve's doing about it, and then geopolitical scenarios, and like COVID. So all 5 of those are really converging right now, and so it's causing a lot of people to be a little bit more bearish, meaning that they're kind of buckling down. I personally think that as we're seeing this swing up right now, hey, let's just talk about the fact that we're in the middle of midterm elections. Let's talk about the fact that, next month, the Fed is looking to raise rates on a scale unlike they have done at any point in the last 40 years. And so the world is changing very rapidly right now. And so I feel like a lot of the adopters of this type of technology have a real high potential to make a lot of return. And the early adopters, and then those that are going to be a little bit safer that are going to come in once it's been more adopted, regulations, maybe they can get it, on their TD Ameritrade, Charles Schwab platforms more directly. Obviously, these ETFs are helpful, but I think that as we see some of that, we're going to be able to find a lot more adoption. But also with Bitcoin, supply is going down. So if the supply is going down, the value should go higher, specifically as demand begins to rise.
So, David, I'm hearing from you a lot of macro factors that could be impacting the markets. You mentioned inflation, the Fed, et cetera. And I've heard the argument commonly being made that Bitcoin is moving like tech stocks right now, because just a lot of folks from legacy finance are moving into crypto. But at the same time, I see Meta lost $250 billion in market cap. They're continuing to go down today. The stock Nasdaq is it's gaining a bit of momentum, up 0.2% from earlier losses today. But Bitcoin is just skyrocketing. I wonder what gives.
I think that you're seeing that there is a divergence between these asset classes. Truly, you are talking apples and lasagna. They're completely different, and so it's not but they're all investments, right? So what's occurred though is that we're finding ourselves really late in a bull market for the stocks. The bond market has significant challenges to it, with the yields being as low as they are and interest rates rising. That brings a lot of pressure on the bond market and the stock market and the economy. And so, Bitcoin's been taught or told to be, the digital gold. Now, we don't know if that's ultimately going to be true, because it's not technically a store of value, although I know an argument can be made there. I personally think that there's going to be significant adoption once it can be understood that there is, real assets that could be backing up a specific cryptocurrency or asset. But a lot of these, like with Ethereum, I love the idea of smart contracts. I love the idea that we don't have to, that ultimately you're really just buying programming. You're buying new ideas of how the world is likely going to change in the future, and different adoptions that are going to take place with crypto. So, I'm very much personally an analyst, and feel like where there's places of expansion are probably the areas that to pay attention to very significantly. So, the Ethereum market,
David,
and others.
Wrap it there. But I just want to get one last question in very quickly. FS Insight is predicting $200,000 Bitcoin this year. I wonder, do you agree, or what's your end of year target?
I don't have an end of year target, just to be really candid with you. I will say this much. It's very possible it could go up to 200,000. Midterm elections, a lot of challenges, debt that's out of control. I mean, shoot, it took us 230 years to get 22 trillion in debt, leading to the end of 2019. We just added 8 within the last 2 years, 1 month. So 8 trillion just added to the bottom line. I feel like a lot of people are looking for different options right now, and they maybe find themselves in the crypto space here, even though it's more volatile and speculative. But it's certainly got a lot of opportunity.